Hi, welcome to BeebeFlicks. We're your Beebe librarians, here to tell you what we've been watching while we're staying home and maybe give you some suggestions for what you can watch while you're staying home. With me today, I'm Bridget from the reference department, and with me today is Jeff, also from the reference department, and Alyssa from the reference department. And we're going to share what we've been watching lately. Does anyone have anything that they want to start with? Something fun.
I can talk about a guilty pleasure if you want. Because this is the kind of thing that I wouldn't normally watch, but I must admit I've gotten hooked. I started watching this show, and it's rare that I'm watching something that is actually popular on like rankings and stuff, but it is, I think it's like one of the top 5 things on Netflix that people are watching right now. It's a Spanish series called Elite, which is basically a soap opera. It's a trashy soap opera, but it's better than that, and I'm really enjoying it because of that. I just finished the first season. It takes place, in my head, I'm thinking of it as sort of Madrid 90210. It's about a high school, and there's lots of manipulative characters and people backstabbing, and there's sex and beautiful teenagers and all of that. But I have to say, it gives you all of that kind of soap opera-y stuff. If you liked Dallas and Dynasty and 90210 and all those kinds of typical soap opera stuff, you get all of that. But I have to say, the production is really good, and the characters are. It's one of those shows where the characters for the first couple of episodes are very one-dimensional, but as you get to know them, they, like, the good people turn out to be a little more complex and not as good as you thought they were, and the bad people are more complex than you thought they were. But the thing I like most about it is it really deals a lot with issues of, well, I can tell you the premise, which is that there's a high school in Spain, and it collapses, like physically collapses because of construction corruption. Like, they used poor quality materials. So this school collapses and injures, nobody dies, but some students get injured, and of course the school has to close. So 3 of the students get scholarships to attend an elite, very like a school for the rich and famous, who all live in Beverly Hills homes, and like the complete opposite type of family. So there's a lot of class stuff that's going on about wealthy people in Spain versus the non-wealthy communities, and the discrimination attitudes. And also, one of the characters is a Palestinian girl, and so she comes from a very conservative Muslim background. And so there's all of this stuff. There's issues. There's LGBTQ characters. There's a character with HIV. So I thought they did actually a really good job of mixing this basically trashy soap opera stuff that keeps you watching, but with characters that are really dealing with some kind of intense issues. So I've been surprised at. Now I get why people are watching it. I think it really held me. And there's a murder, so like it's one of those that operates on 2 timelines where you kind of know the end at the beginning, and then the entire season is slowly revealing little bits of information as you get towards the end, and the 2 timelines converge. So I just started season 2, and there's a season 3. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm really enjoying it. And if you want something that's really, it's escapism, but kind of a cut above escapism, I'm really liking it.
It seems like if you are a fan of shows on the CW or the old WB, it would be in your sort of wheelhouse. So if you've watched, you're all caught up on Riverdale.
Yep.
You have watched every episode of Smallville. That's a real old school. That's for my elder millennials there, the Smallville reference.
And there's the new one, which I probably wouldn't watch, that's about, people have kind of been comparing it to like a new Dawson's Creek, that I forget.
Oh, the Outer Banks
Outer
on
Banks,
Netflix.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it's probably in that same general vein, um, but um, but it is really well done, and it is sort of edge of your seat, and there's a lot of beautiful people, and yeah, sex, drugs, music, backstabbing, revenge. It's got it all.
And I do feel like when you watch a show in a foreign language, you can always claim that it is slightly classier than watching
Of
the
course.
exact same show in English, because you're expanding your horizons to the
Yep.
world.
I'm learning. Yeah. Actually, for me, like, I've taken a couple of Spanish classes, but I don't speak Spanish. But it's been fun to kind of listen to. There's lots of Spanish slang, like teen slang in it. And that's kind of fun to hear how and they mix in English words with it. And so that's been kind of interesting. I have no idea how close to actual reality it would be for any type of school situation in Spain, but that's not why you're watching. So,
I mean, is any American teen program at all close to an American high school experience? I don't think so.
so that's on Netflix.
Yeah, I don't watch Riverdale and go, this is what it's like to be in high school. Alyssa, what have you been watching?
Well, so in a similar vein to watching something that I don't usually watch like Jeff did, I watched a true crime documentary series, two things that I don't usually watch. And it was called McMillans. It was on HBO from February to March, and I watched it at the end of March. I just binged it. It's about the fraud that was perpetrated in the McDonald's Monopoly game, which I didn't know happened at all. Turns out there was no legitimate $1 million winners the entire time, almost the entire time they were doing Monopoly. And it's about that. And they just have, it's about the FBI investigation. It's about the fraud itself. It's about the process. They like the security of that was thwarted in McDonald's. And it was actually not McDonald's that ran the monopoly. It was Simon Marketing. So it was sort of like peeling back the layers of how this worked. But they have like an incredible, like they interview more people than you would think. They have the FBI, and they have a lot of the fraudsters that were involved. Like there was one single mom who got off, her friend was involved in the scheme, and there were recruiters, and she recruited her to be $1 million winner, because once she won, it was an installment over 20 years, like 50,000. Like they got half, but like she was over her head, and then there was the FBI agent Bridget. I talked to Bridget about this. Doug Matthews. He was just a ham. He was with this.
Yeah.
He discovered.
Sorry, yeah, I saw the first episode, and this man, off the chain character. If you enjoy, like, I feel like if you watched Tiger King and you were like, I would like more real life characters, this man is it.
Yeah, when you think of an FBI agent, you think of like a straight laced button up rule follower, and he's laughing at his own jokes. He's like, oh, I'll go undercover, and like no training. He goes in and he pretends to. So that when they were gathering evidence, they pretended to do sort of promo commercials. So they had FBI agents pretend to be like commercial filmmakers, and then they gathered all this evidence when they were interviewing them. There was also like mob connections, so they had some of the mob family involved with that. And one of my favorite characters, who appears in a later episode, was the sister-in-law, and she doesn't really say much. She's interviewed with the brother of the mobster, and she doesn't say much, but she like sort of corrects him on facts, and she's sort of a low-key person. And I watched like it. I had no idea, and so like you could sort of have the background of it and still enjoy it with all the characters, but they sort of film it like you are figuring out the mystery. So yeah, they do a good job of that.
Yeah, that's actually, if you have Hulu, that's one of the things that HBO is offering, like on Hulu. It's on HBO Go or HBO Now, but it's also, I've seen it pop up on my Hulu feed. So that's one of the things that's out there. And yeah, again, I watched the one episode, and the FBI agent, it's just wild. I was like, if you had told me he was someone who conned the producers into believing he was an FBI agent, that would make more sense to me.
Yeah.
So I guess that leaves what I'm watching. I've been taking this time. I've been taking this time to really learn more and be very classy and watch fancy movies, which is not really true. But I did happen to watch a Criterion Collection film on Canopy, which is one of our services. You can sign up with your library card and you get 10 movies, and they have a lot of free credit-free reviewing as well.
There's a whole collection that they've set up that doesn't count towards your monthly allotment, so you can watch as many of those as you want for free.
Yeah, and I'm actually excited because I saw that the Frederick Wiseman documentary Ex Libris, which is about the New York Public Library, is one of those. So that's like on my list now to watch because I've been wanting to, and now it seems like a good chance. But what did I actually watch? I actually watched the 1970s film The Friends of Eddie Coyle, which is set here in Boston, and it was filmed here in Boston. According to a description that I saw, the least picturesque parts of Boston, including multiple outdoor shots in Government Center, a trip to Boston Common where we do not see the State House, but we do see the entrance to the Park Street subway, everyone's favorite site in Boston Common. It's like a feast of character actors. So many sort of, hey, it's that guys from the 70s. So if you watch 70s or 80s movies, you've probably seen these people before. The star, as the titular Eddie Coyle, is Robert Mitchum. He's excellent in the film. He's kind of a small-time hood facing a jail sentence, so he's trying to get out of it by working with an ATF agent for complicated reasons. It's not like an action movie. It's not a heist movie. It's kind of like a hangout crime movie. Like you're kind of following him and this cast of characters.
Is this the sort of thing that like people who like Dennis Lehane might?
Yes, that is. If you have enjoyed Dennis Lehane, or you enjoy trying to think of other, like, you enjoy other 70s films, it's sort of like that, but not like the it's sort of, I would say it's akin to like an All the President's Men or something like that, but there's no like catharsis ending where you're like, there's kind of not really a cathartic ending of like, and that it just kind of ends because it's kind of that. It's
Do you?
Well,
So I know it's based on a book. Do you know how it compares to the book?
I do not. I don't know any. I haven't read the book, so I'm not familiar with the story from the book. But it is based on a book, and it is kind of it. Like I said, it was filmed in Boston. It does have a character named Jackie Brown in it, so you might know that a fan of this film is Quentin Tarantino. He obviously named a movie Jackie Brown. The Jackie Brown in this film has nothing to do with the Jackie Brown that is in Quentin Tarantino's film. He is just a white man. He's not. But if you, I don't think that there's like no female characters. It's just men. But as I said to a friend, it made me vaguely nostalgic for a Boston that I never saw because I didn't live here in the 70s, wasn't alive. But in this moment when I can't go to any of those places, I will even take dirty, gross 70s Boston.
You'll visit the non-picturesque parts.
Especially the non-picturesque parts. Multiple scenes that take place at tea stations. Not even the nice ones.
Yeah, the Park Street one you said, right? That filthy one that's like 120 years.
Like the oldest of all the tea stops.
Yeah, like the ones outside in Quincy, you're like, what's happening here?
And of course, since none of us can go to any of the public transit stops, it brings the nostalgia home.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it. But I think it's for what and it's not that long. It's only about an hour and a half. Robert Mitchum is great. If you are a Robert Mitchum fan, an excellent film for that. Or if you just kind of want to explore a different kind of film than you've seen before, because it's very like 70s, but I would say like a lot of those 70s movies like that have sort of a cathartic violence or a cathartic ending or something that ends it. And this kind of doesn't, in a way that anticipates modern films in a way, and so it's like kind of a neo-noir if you're into noir films and you'd like to see something else. But I thought it was very good, and it's on Canopy.
Yeah, I think it's good that you're reminding everyone about Canopy, because it's great. I mean, I watch it for myself just because I keep finding stuff there that I'm amazed. Some weird movie that I've always wanted to see again that I saw years ago and it's hard to find. And then I discover, oh my God, it's on Canopy. And I can just watch it from home with my library card, and it's really well worth exploring. I actually watched one based on your recommendation when you did our BeebeFlicks in the library back in the fall. And it must have been October, because it was, we were looking for something kind of scary, but not too scary. It's What We Do in the Shadows, which I didn't get to see because I wasn't working during the program. And it's been on my list for a while, and we finally watched it this weekend. And you were right, it is hysterically funny. I do like vampire stuff, but even if you didn't, it was great. And I'm looking forward to catching up with the TV show as well, because so where are they, in Wellington, New Zealand? I think so it's basically modern day vampires in Wellington, New Zealand, but it's the mockumentary style. So if you like Christopher Guest and all the popular things he did, like Best in Show, and what was the other big one? Spinal Tap. And if you like that kind of humorous fake documentary style, that's what this is, even though it isn't him. And I thought they did a great job. The pacing was great. It was laugh out loud funny. And apparently there is, now you've seen some of the TV show, you said, right?
Yes.
So on Hulu, you can access the FX TV series that they turned it into, which takes place in Staten Island instead of New Zealand. So it's different characters, different everything, but the same kind of general premise and the same sense of humor. So I haven't started that, but I'm looking forward to giving those a try to see whether they keep me going as well. Because I've heard the TV series is actually, some critics have said it's even better than the original film version. So I don't know if you'd agree, but I'm curious.
I think that I like it for different reasons. I will say, if you are a fan of vampire media, there is one episode of the TV show which is just perfect for people who are fans, because it has many callbacks and many things in it, like references that you will get if you have watched a lot of things with vampires in them.
Other vampire stuff. Okay.
The movie was like that too. Like one of I think Tika Waititi's character dated a 96-year-old woman because he was so old. It's like he was dating a baby.
Yep.
Exactly. What many people,
because he's 180 years old or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like people see, what is this young vibrant woman doing with this 200-year-old vampire? But we don't care. The show, I don't even want to say what's happening in it because it's such a good surprise, but it's really survives that. And I will say, Jeff, there's a character named Jeff on the show, and a different character doesn't really know how to say Jeff, so it's always like Jeff, and it's just funny.
It was perfect escapism. I thought for everything that's going on right now, I'm loving things that just take you in a completely different direction.
Yeah, I think that's one of the really like important things about what I'm looking to watch is like absorbing and not where we are. Canopy actually has a lot. I'm going to go back to Canopy. Canopy has What We Do in the Shadows. It also has one of my favorite films from last year, The Farewell, by Lulu Wang, which is about a young woman who goes back to China to celebrate a cousin's wedding, but the wedding is kind of a sham to get the whole family together with her grandmother, who is dying of cancer, who they have not told her that she is dying of cancer. And it's a beautiful film, and I don't want to say more about what happens, but it's a lot about like family and connections and grief and growing in different places than where you are from, because her family was born in China, like she was born in China and now lives in the United States, and different things. And it stars Awkwafina in how you've never seen her if you have if you're familiar with the rapper actress Awkwafina, comedian. She's very different in this. It's an excellent film. And also, if you want to be scared of things that are not the world, Midsommar.
Oh.
Ari Aster film is on there as well.
Yep.
So take a trip to a small town in Sweden, Norway.
It's
Sweden. Yeah. And enjoy the summer nightmare.
Yeah, that was
the brightly colored summer nightmare.
In some ways, yeah, I was prepared to be much more scared in that before I watched it, and I found myself expecting to be more scared, but then there were parts of it that were just so upsetting that, not necessarily in terms of violence and gore and stuff like that. I found a lot of the interpersonal relations really almost more upsetting than what you were expecting. But yeah,
it's a horror movie about grad students and how being in your 20s is a nightmare. That's what it is ultimately. And I think I also was really prepared for it to be very, and it's weird to say it because it has so many things that are disturbing in it, but I was prepared for it to be much worse because I had seen Hereditary, one of the most like messed up movies I've ever seen in my life. And which is his first film. And to watch this and be like, oh, this is nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's clearly not for everyone, but
yeah. So if you are not, I do think if you're not a horror movie person, you might like it, but you also might hate it. So I hesitate to recommend it to people who aren't horror movie people.
Because I think some people really wanted more gore slasher stuff, which is exactly the kind of horror movie I don't like. So I think for some people, these I've been interested to see. There's been a wave of newer, I think, to me, better horror films like It Follows, Get Out, the Jordan Peele stuff, which I think is I just find them more intelligent, and they don't rely so much on the old-fashioned slasher stuff, which just doesn't do it for me. But I think for people who do prefer that, they found Midsommar boring. Like, nothing happens in it. Well, yeah, so it's for some people and not others. Yeah,
but I quite liked it.
I liked it.
Did too. So I would say, and it has she is the moment, Florence Pugh.
I thought she was great. She nailed that character. Really did.
Yes, and another one of her, another movie starring her, Lady Macbeth, is also on, which I haven't seen, but it is on Canopy now as well. And that was kind of her entry movie. Like a lot of people first saw her there. So that just went on Canopy. I was looking through the new to see what things I could watch.
What was the other vampire movie I just watched? Oh, I think I mentioned this to you. Was this on Canopy or not? Now I can't remember what it was on. Welcome to the new world of streaming where nobody remembers what they watched something on. It was Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston play modern vampires who are only lovers left alive.
Yeah, the Jim Jarmusch film.
Jim Jarmusch. And that was another one where if you want blood and gore and like traditional vampire stuff, like you're going to be bored silly. It has none of that. It's a totally like relationship oriented one about these very ancient vampires who've been in love for years and live in different parts of the world, and what it's like and what they deal with. But I thought it was really well done, and I'm not sure I would have watched it if it weren't for those two actors who I happen to like, but and who I wouldn't necessarily expect to play vampires, but I thought they did very well. It was good. It is slow and dreamy in a lot of ways, but a little bit different, and not at all. It's not scary or violent or icky.
So if you're into vampires but not into like the gore, the gross gore stuff,
there's virtually none of that.
Yeah, I always feel like Jim Jarmusch is one of those directors who I've seen a lot of his movies and I can never predict what they're going to be like, because they are all so very different. If anyone has seen Patterson on Prime, Jim Jarmusch stars Adam Driver as a bus driver who lives in Patterson, New Jersey.
Oh yeah.
He wants to be a poet, and it's just like his life. It's just like what he does for a week, and it's incredibly fascinating, but it is nothing like any of those other movies that we're talking about. So yeah. So you kind of get that a difference in him. So, and if you are, I'm also going to shout a plug to a local art house that is looking to survive in this moment, is the Coolidge. For a $10 donation, if you give them, much like how we do Reader's Advisory for books, they're doing a film advisory, and so it's a $10 donation, and they'll give you 3 picks, and you tell them what streaming services you have access to.
Oh.
And sort of how much, like what level of movie watching you do, your favorite movies, what you're in the mood for, what you're looking for, and they'll give you a customized playlist of 3 movies to watch.
That's great.
So, and they're sort of experts. I think they're experts at curation. If you've seen like a marathon there, or you see their series that they run, they're very good at picking movies that go together and are interesting. So
and their virtual screening room has been great too, because I've been able to see some things that are really hard to find otherwise and aren't on streaming services yet. And by going through them, not only can you see some great films, but you're helping to support a local independent theater that would otherwise have trouble doing business right now.
Yeah.
I will mention one other thing too. I have not tried this myself. Maybe you guys have. I saw that Google search, if you're logged in, if you have an account that you are logged into on a device, Google search has always been able to do various kinds of things about finding where TV and film that you want to watch is, but you can now keep a centralized
yeah, I saw that. Oh, add it to your watch list, right?
You can keep a centralized watch list within Google that would then allow you to, keep your watch list in one place, even though you may end up getting the stuff from a variety of other sources, but it allows you to keep your list centrally instead of having your Hulu list and your other. So that I haven't tried it yet myself, but given the way the streaming world has changed so drastically in the past couple of years, I think people might need that more than they used to.
Yeah, and there's more new ones all the time.
Yep.
It seems like with
I actually use there's an app or a free website. You don't even have to sign up for it. That's called justwatch.com. And they have a free app, but you can also just go to their website if you want. And it's an aggregator of lots of different streaming services, including Canopy, and some other things that the library has. I think Hoopla is even in there, as well as all the big and small streaming services. So if you're looking for a particular film or TV show, you can do one search and it will tell you which streaming service has that particular thing. and whether it's free or rental or whatever. So it saves you from having to keep looking in lots of different places.
The
and
app I use for my watch list is called TV Time.
Mhm.
And it doesn't really, I think it might tell you where you can see it, but I use it mostly to keep track of my watch list and also for the notifications, because when I'm not binging something, when I have to wait for the next episode, I can sometimes forget when it's on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it reminds me, and it also
Does it
tells
do only
me.
TV or films too?
It does. It's starting to do films. Like, I think their movies are in beta, but it was primarily built for TV. And it also, if you add something to your watch list, it'll tell you, it'll have things you haven't watched, but also upcoming things. So it'll tell you like how many days until the next season
That's good.
as well. So you're like, well, when is it coming back? Oh, it's coming back then.
Yeah, I've been frustrated with Netflix sometimes where they're great at telling me, like, because you watched this, you might want to watch this other thing that actually is completely unrelated, but they don't tell me when there's a new season of something I actually did watch. So it's nice to know that there are these other services that are kind of filling in the gaps.
Yeah, that's good. This is not if you want to track your film watching, I use a website and an app called Letterboxed that does reviews, and you can just like track what you've watched and keep lists. I make like a ranking of my favorite. I rank all the movies that I see in theaters in one particular year. So we'll see if I may add anything else to that list this year. But
is it crowdsourced? So like,
yeah, so it's
where you're
you can
sharing
connect with friends.
people.
It's like a social media site, and they have lots of lists. They do sort of list challenges, and they also ask directors to contribute lists on their of like genres and their favorite films and that kinds of thing. So it's sometimes you can like go down into like a director like Ryan Johnson. He's on there, and he's like an active person, so he has lists of things, or like Edgar Wright has lists, and like so. That is something that happens there, and like they aggregate like the highest rated movies. So they have like the Letterboxd 100, which are like the highest rated movies on Letterboxd, and the highest rated with less than 100 reviews and stuff like that. So you can kind of go through and see different stuff. And since it's international, you sometimes see things like you'll see a lot of foreign films on the lists in ways that you don't always on other movie ranking sites that allow regular people to rank.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think we're out of time. So we'll be doing this again in 2 weeks, I think. Maybe the same people, maybe not. Depends on who is eager to talk about what they've been watching. So you can find this on our YouTube site. Maybe that's where you're watching it now. But also you can let people know that WCAT, the local cable TV station, is also airing many of the library's programs and putting it on their YouTube site and in their regular schedule rotation. So you can catch stuff there or tell your friends to watch them there. So I guess we'll see you next time.
One real quick plug. If you are missing you miss our beautiful faces and coming to programs at the library, be sure to check out our virtual programs page on our website. You can find it you just go to wakefieldlibrary.org, find virtual programs, try on our Wakefield Connects page, it's on there. And that gives you links to all of our video pre-recorded programs, as well as anything that we're doing live, because we do live programs. We just did trivia. We're doing bad art, which this will go up before that event, so you should sign up for that. And we're still doing news and views as we can, and other things as come along. So join us for any of those.
So
wakefieldlibrary.org.
we are happy to help you stay sane and connected to the world, and we'll see you next time.